Hello, I'm Greg, and this is my review of Geister Schatzsuchmeister. I'm pretty sure I pronounced that horribly wrong. I apologize if I butchered the German language. The game is designed by Brian Yu, and it won the Kinderspiel des Jahres of 2014. The basic premise of the game is that you and up to 4 players are treasure hunters who are entering this haunted castle or mansion, trying to get all 8 treasures and escape before 6 of the rooms become haunted and overwhelmed by ghosts. So this is the setup for Geister. Basically, you have ghosts starting in the rooms C, F, I, and L, which are marked by a green circle that's also highlighted with a darker green. Each room has 2 green spots on it. It's basically just to indicate that the maximum capacity for a room before it becomes haunted is 2 ghosts. And then the gems start in all the rooms that have a red square around their letter. So unfortunately, if someone's colorblind, it's going to make it a little bit difficult the initial time you play, but then you can just go by the letters, so it's not too big of a deal. The green and the blues do make it a little bit more complicated, but hopefully they're playing with people who are not colorblind that can easily tell them which doors are locked. I kind of wish they had little icons on them just so that if someone is colorblind, they can easily play this game without having need assistance. But with that said, the way the game simply works is on a player's turn, they're going to roll the white movement dice, and depending on what they roll, so here I roll the 1 with a ghost on it. 1 through 5 has these little has these little ghost icons next to them. That means that you draw a card. So I roll the 1. So if I'm the red player, I'd move 1 space. I would draw a card first, which as you can see from this card, it's a ghost, a green ghost, and it says mission, which means shuffle. So I would then shuffle it back into the deck. And shuffle it back into the deck, place the deck back, and then move my character 1. Then the next player goes. They would roll the dice. They got a 6, which has no ghost on it. So then the green player might go next and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and he could fight this ghost if he wanted to. Or he can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And explore this room, or go into any other combination of rolls. So he's going to go into this room and look at this gem, which is a treasure gem. The treasure gem has the number 3 on it. The goal of the game for the treasure hunters is to get all the gems and exit the building. You can only carry 1 gem at a time per player. And there's 2 versions of the game. There's the basic rules, and then there's the advanced rules. The basic rules, to be honest, in my opinion, are a little too simplistic for seasoned gamers. They're fine for kids, which is what this game is kind of designed for, is really a family, kid-friendly game. So someone who's just new to gaming, or as a kid, or as a parent playing with their kids who don't play many board games, basic rules work just fine. All that the advanced rules really do is they add a little more difficulty. So for example, this 3rd gem, if I was playing the basic game, I could put it in my backpack and then exit the building and drop it off. But in the advanced game, I have to get gems 1 and 2 out of the building first, and then I can finally take gem 3 out of the building. Also, in the card deck, there are draw like 2 or draw 3 and then shuffle cards, as well as cards that will lock these blue and green doors. Those are only used in the advanced game. In the basic game, you only have the reshuffle cards like the one I drew. I have right now set up for the advanced game just because it shows you the full game capacity of the game, and it's also a lot more fun in my opinion, and a lot more difficult. So with this character, I have the option now. I can either pick up this gem and put it in their backpack, and then they can continue to explore the house as needed, or eventually leave, or I can leave the gem here and just uncover it. And since we're looking for the number gems, it might not be a bad idea to leave it there. Now I've ended my movement, so now I can combat this ghost that is in the room. There are these black combat dice. There's a blank space. There is a red face haunt icon, and there's a ghost icon. If in the rule book it says there's an X through them, which is, I believe, a misprint or a mistranslation, because the artwork definitely does not have an X. But basically, if you roll a ghost, you kill the ghost, or bust the ghost, or scare it away. If you roll a red one and there's a haunt in that room, you get rid of the haunt. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But basically, you're trying to roll, for this character, I'm trying to roll a ghost. So I roll the dice, I got a ghost, the ghost is removed from the room, the house, effectively. So now the play will pass to the player on my left. If there are two hunters in the same room, then you get to roll 2 dice when you bust ghosts or try to stop a haunt. If there are 3, you still only roll 2 dice. So at this point, the next player would go, and they would roll, and they got a 1 as well. The important thing to note here is that you can't land on the same space. So if this was a case where the green guy who rolled a 1, let's say, was there, and the yellow guy was going to go next, he would not be able to enter the house. He would basically have to wait till the green guy moves. But he would still have to draw a card. Now, he drew the B card, which is the ghost reading a book. So at this point, he would put a ghost in the room B, which is also the library. And this keeps going until, and as players, they'll move around, they'll flip over generally gems and flip over cards and reshuffles and put ghosts. And you also have these cards here, which lock the corresponding doors. So this would lock the blue door. This would actually go to the side of the discard pile, and the blue doors remain locked where no one can enter them until either another card like green lock comes into play, which then covers it, or you get a reshuffle card. At that point, everything is reshuffled into the deck. Until then, you draw these cards, like this one here, which is K, and for every card that you draw, you place a ghost in that room. So this would have a ghost now appearing in K. And as the players move around the board, looking at these treasures and slowly flipping them over, they're going to be putting them in their bags. And the idea is that once it's in your backpack, you want to work your way back to the front of the door and then drop it off out here. Once all 8 gems are out, the players win. If at any time while you're drawing cards, like sometimes you might get stuck, so a player might be in here and then there's a lock door. So now these players have the option. They can either wait and hope that a green lock comes up or shuffle, or they can exit through the long way around and try to get out. But just like all games like Pandemic and all these kind of co-op players against the board games, ghosts start filling up, and they start filling up quickly. And if in any room there's 3 ghosts in them, so if now let's say B was supposed to get another ghost, you would take all 3 ghosts, remove them from the board, and instead replace them with a haunt. So this room is considered haunted. If at any time during the game there are 6 rooms that are haunted, the players will lose the game. And just like Pandemic, if let's say you're in room A, it's haunted, and A is supposed to get a ghost, it would then go to room B. B is already taken, then it goes to room C. So now C has 3 ghosts. So now that becomes haunted. And as you can see, it can slowly build up. So if there's ever a time when you have 2 or more haunted rooms in a row, it's going to explode pretty quickly before you know it, and you'll probably lose the game pretty quickly. So if the board looked like this, the players would have lost the game because we have 6 rooms that are now haunted. However, if a player enters a room that is haunted and they don't have a treasure, they can leave the room and come back later, or they can wait. You have to have 2 players in a room in order to try to stop a haunting. At that point, you would roll 2 dice, and if the red haunt icon shows up, like it did here, I would remove the haunt from the board. So the game takes a lot of really balancing between gathering the treasures and trying to get them out versus keeping the haunt and the ghosts under control. At first, things seem pretty easy as you enter the building. You're kind of walking around, looking at all these gems, and then you start like trying to take them out. But before you know it, these rooms do get populated pretty damn quick. These rooms get populated pretty quickly because there's 1 card for each room, and they get shuffled quite a bit. And while they're getting shuffled, you might get the same room again. And then there's these, like this card here, the Sein 2 plus Mishk, which basically means draw 2 and shuffle. This game is pretty easy to play, especially if you don't speak German. None of us spoke German, but we have the English translated rules printed out, and like the shuffle cards, Mischen, and the draw 2 or draw 3 cards are really easy to identify, versus like the ghost spawning cards, which just have a ghost and a letter on them. So really, you don't have to know German to play this game. You do learn a little German, which is nice. Like I now know that Sei means draw and Mishk means shuffle. So that's an added perk. And the artwork is really cool. I really like it. Like you can see here, the ghosts, they're kind of cute. So it's obviously designed heavily towards being a family friendly and a kids game, but it's very appropriate for pretty much really hardcore gamers and really just kids. Also, the figures are really cool. So like you can see here, the miniature for the adventure hunter as a kid. There's are pretty detailed. They're just solid colors of green and blue and red and yellow. There's 2 guys and 2 girls, it looks like, or maybe 3. Oh well, I'm sorry. There are 3 guys and 1 girl. I also like the cool part of the components is that the treasure tokens fit in the backpack. Just to remind, so that people will always know when they have one, versus putting it in front of you where you might forget that you already have a treasure and waste your time trying to find other treasures. So that's a cute, cool mechanic that I really like. I wish more games had miniatures that you can actually interact with components from the board. The haunt tokens are also pretty cool. They're like these big red ghosts. Ooh. And the ghosts are really cute, where they have like the ghostly on the face, and then on the back they have this weird like nose lip thing. But they're pretty cool. I've seen pictures where these glow in the dark. There's a good amount of them too. The game comes with a bunch, so you never run out. And overall, like as you can see, the board is pretty detailed in art. It looks really nice. It's really bright. It's really sharp. It's easy to read and easy to see. And the game is quick. It plays in like about 30 minutes. Like you either win really quickly or you lose horribly. And the few times that we played it, we lost horribly, which I'm not ashamed to admit. It's a kid's game, sure, but it kicked our butts pretty hard. So I would imagine if I had a child or a large family, this would definitely be a game that I probably could take out and play with the kids, or even just play with the adults. So let's go to the conclusion. All right, so that is Geister Schatzsuchmeister in a nutshell. Overall, I think it's a really well-designed game. It's a pretty fun, solid family game. I would definitely give this about an 8 out of 10. It's not perfect in a sense of like one of the complaints that the players had was they felt like 1 through 5, where you draw cards, was too much. That it should have been more like 1 to 4. I personally didn't have a problem with it being 1 through 5. I actually like it when games are super challenging and you lose more often than you win. But more importantly, it kind of helped speed the game up. Where if you're playing with adults, like it works because you can play the game quickly and then move on to something else, or while you're waiting for the rest of your group to show up, you can be playing this a couple of times. With kids, it also works because it's not very complicated, and visually it's the dice are really clear, and when you're drawing cards, it moves the game along. There's a lot of games where every turn you draw a card, or every time you move, you have a set amount of movements. For example, like Pandemic, where you can only move a certain amount of spaces in every turn. So this adds a little more diversity to that aspect, but it also can kind of hinder you. I mean, rolling a 1 and having to draw a card really sucks, because if you're trying to go help fight a ghost and you roll a 1, you might actually cause the room to get haunted, or ghosts to start getting overwhelming, and that can be really frustrating. So I can see the argument there where maybe like the 1 shouldn't have a draw card on it, and the 1 and the 6 are kind of safe. But either way, I had no major problems with that. I like the combat dice. There's a blank spot on them that people felt were kind of disappointing because um, it didn't, like, nothing basically happens at that point. Honestly, I don't know what they could do differently there. I mean, I guess there could be something like a draw icon or move a ghost icon or something that could add more complexity a little bit to the game. But I don't mind the blanks so much because they didn't really hurt us that much. Yeah, we rolled them occasionally, but especially if we got like snake eyes, which is really unfortunate. But like I said, for balance purposes and for gameplay, I can't really imagine what else they could have added to these dice. I mean, if they added another ghost image or another haunt image, then it might make it too easy to get rid of ghosts and haunts. The big strategy here that we kind of figured out was that you really want to be in pairs when you hunt ghosts and hauntings, because you have to for hauntings, but for ghosts it increases your odds of busting the ghosts. And we focused, our first time we played it, we focused really hard on trying to get the treasures and getting out really quickly. That was an epic failure. The second time we tried, we focused on getting the ghosts once they started getting a little more overwhelming, but like also focused on getting some treasure. Also a major failure. It seems like the ideal strategy for this game would be kind of to do what my friend mentioned, which was like Turtle, where you have one person kind of collecting the gems while the rest of the people are fighting the ghosts. That could be a reasonable strategy. The game definitely is complex enough in strategy that you could play this with kids and adults multiple times and still not win, and then have to like reevaluate, which to me is a big strong point with this game. I really, really, really enjoyed it. I do give it a strong 8 out of 10. It was fun. It was silly. The artwork is great. It's totally appropriate to play with kids or adults, which is what really makes this a really good family game. Um, so yeah, I mean, I hope you enjoy listening or watching this video, and I'll be making some more reviews. Thank you, and I'll see you later. So the big question here is there really room on your shelf for this game? Assuming you have a lot of games, especially if you have a lot of co-op against the system games like Arkham Horrors, Pandemics, Agents of Zermesh. There's a lot of great games out there that are the same general mechanics of trying to keep a crazy horde or virus or whatever at bay while trying to accomplish your mission. I would say there's definitely room on your shelf if you have a family. There's nothing here in this game that is going to blow you away. For example, if you play Pandemic or Agents of Zermesh, which adds kind of a Tales of Arabian Nights concept to that, to the mechanics of the group against the board game, or even Arkham Horror, where it's kind of similar, but much more complicated version of a game like Pandemic. If you already own those games, honestly, if you have room on your shelf, sure, but there's nothing new here that's going to make it where you have to, it's like this is an absolute purchase. So, but if you have kids and you really want to play a Pandemic-like game that's appropriate for them and they're going to have a lot of fun with, this game is absolutely a must-buy. Games like Sunken Island or the Desert one, which I can't remember the name off the top of my head, are fun games that are family friendly, that are also challenging. But this one I think is a much better game than those, especially if you have because it has cute miniatures and cute art. Kids are really going to enjoy it. Kids love ghosts. The age on the box is 8+, which makes sense, since like you really just need to have kids with some patience as well as that like games. So if you don't have kids and you have a lot of these kind of games, you can still check it out. I still would recommend you play it. Give it a shot at like a game shop or a con or anywhere you can really get your hands on a copy of the game, and see if it fits well for your game group. Otherwise, you probably won't be blown away by it or find anything super new. It's not going to blow you away. It's not going to be a lot of new mechanics. Like, it's not like Agents of Zermesh where they add a whole new storytelling aspect to it, choose your adventure style. But if you have kids and you're looking for an age-appropriate game that you can play with the kids and enjoy as an adult with other adults, then I would recommend picking up this game. All right. Well, thank you.